Imagine the devout Queen of France secretly giving birth to a baby with dark skin, a baby whose very existence could topple a royal reputation. It sounds like a plot twist from a novel, but it's a real scandalous rumor from the court of Versailles. In today's video, we unravel the forbidden secret of Queen Maria-Theresa of Spain, the wife of Louis the Sun King, and discover the shocking mystery that the French royal family tried to bury. This mind-blowing tale will keep you hooked till the very end, and might just change how you view history's most glamorous court. Queen Maria-Theresa of Spain was no ordinary royal consort. She was a Spanish Habsburg princess who became Queen of France by marrying her double first cousin, King Louis XIV, in 1660. Famed for her virtue and piety, Maria-Theresa was deeply in love with her husband and dutifully ignored his numerous affairs. She bore the Sun King 6 children, but tragically, all except one died in childhood. As a devout Catholic queen, Maria-Theresa presented an image of pure loyalty and obedience. So why do whispers from history hint that she might have harbored a scandalous secret that defied everything she stood for? What forbidden secret could a pious queen possibly hide? In this video, we'll explore how appearances can be deceiving, even in the dazzling world of Versailles. Understanding this hidden chapter of Maria-Theresa's life is important. It shows us that even the mightiest monarchs have secrets, and learning about these secrets can change our perspective on history, and maybe even teach us about the consequences of rumors and intrigue. By the end, you'll know the full story and be inspired to dig deeper into history's mysteries in your own life. Now, let's dive into the royal court and uncover the truth. Queen Maria-Theresa, painted by Charles and Henri Beaubrun, was known for her unwavering Catholic faith and devotion to King Louis XIV. She arrived at the French court as a young Spanish princess to seal peace between Spain and France. But life in Louis XIV's glittering court was far from a fairy tale. Louis XIV, the legendary Sun King, surrounded himself with splendor, powerful favorites, and a parade of mistresses, often leaving his wife lonely and humiliated. Courtiers even whispered that Maria-Theresa's blind love for the king was pitiful, given how openly he pursued other women. Despite all this, Maria-Theresa remained every bit the dutiful queen. She focused on her children and her religious duties, never meddling in politics, and rarely speaking against the king's infidelities. In fact, people at court joked that apart from childbirth and prayer, the queen had little influence. So, it seemed unthinkable that she of all people would be involved in a scandal. Yet, behind the scenes in the mid-1660s, an astonishing rumor began to spread, one that dared to suggest the virtuous queen betrayed the all-powerful Sun King. To understand the shock of this rumor, you have to know one peculiar custom of the French court. When a queen gave birth, dozens of courtiers and officials were present in the room. This wasn't voyeurism. It was meant to verify the royal birth, ensuring that no baby swapping or foul play occurred. In other words, every royal baby's arrival was practically a public event. If something unusual happened, lots of witnesses would know, or so one would think. After 4 years of marriage, in 1664, Queen Maria-Theresa went into labor with her 3rd child. Her previous baby had died in infancy. It was a difficult, premature birth at the old royal palace of the Louvre, and the queen nearly died in childbirth. Courtiers crowded around to witness the event as usual. When the baby girl, Princess Marie-Anne, was delivered, those present were astonished. The infant's skin was reportedly dark, a deep purple or almost black hue. Officially, the explanation was that the baby's coloration was caused by birth complications. The child was premature and deprived of oxygen, giving her skin a dark, purplish tone. Indeed, modern historians note that a lack of oxygen, hypoxia, could darken a newborn's skin temporarily. Sadly, little Marie-Anne was said to be very weak. She was publicly announced to have died shortly after birth, and a funeral was held for the tiny princess in 1664. That's the official story. But rumors in the court of Versailles told a much different tale. According to gossip, the baby did not die, and her skin color was no medical fluke. Instead, people whispered that Maria Theresa's child was born black because the queen had committed adultery with someone of African descent. This was an explosive claim. If true, it meant the pious queen had cuckolded the Sun King, producing an illegitimate child right under his nose. Imagine the scandal. The moral, faithful queen secretly betraying her husband in the most shocking way. The French court was a rumor mill, and this gossip caught on like wildfire. Many refused to believe the devout queen could do such a thing, but others noted how quickly the infant was whisked away. La Grande Mademoiselle, Anne-Marie d'Orléans, the king's own cousin, later wrote in her memoirs about what she heard. When it was remarked that the queen's baby resembled the Moor, he was immediately removed. The little girl was said to be hideous and not likely to live. I was told not to mention this to the queen. In other words, witnesses saw that the newborn girl looked strikingly like a Moorish, African person, and the infant was swiftly taken out of sight. They even cautioned Mademoiselle not to tell the recovering queen how bad the situation was, implying there was something to hide. The word around court was that the baby's dark complexion had embarrassed the king, and a cover-up began. So what happened to this mysterious child if she didn't truly die? And who was this Moor that the infant supposedly resembled? The answers to those questions lead us deeper into the queen's forbidden secret, straight to a most unlikely character at Versailles. Every court has its curiosities, and in Louis XIV's France, it was oddly fashionable for nobles to keep dwarfs as attendants or jesters. Queen Maria Theresa herself had a beloved dwarf servant named Nabo, an African boy who had been given to her as a gift. Nabo was brought to France from the Kingdom of Arda in West Africa as a child, and by age 10 or so, he became the queen's personal page and pet entertainer. The queen doted on Nabo. Madame de Montespan, one of Louis's mistresses, wrote that Maria Theresa was delighted by Nabo and often kept him by her side, even letting him play under her wide court skirts. Nabo wore exotic silks, turbans, and jewels, becoming a sort of living accessory in court life. The Sun King, however, was not amused by this little African page. Louis mostly ignored Nabo and reportedly disliked him. Some courtiers whispered that the king was jealous or found the child plaything inappropriate. Nevertheless, many noble ladies were so enchanted by Nabo's presence that African dwarf servants briefly became a status symbol in Versailles. It's easy to imagine that Maria Theresa saw Nabo as a harmless companion who brightened her constrained life. But court gossips turned their friendly relationship into something far more salacious. If the Queen's 1664 baby had black features, people looked straight at Nabo as the suspected father. After all, he was one of the very few persons of African origin constantly around the Queen. Soon, an outrageous narrative took shape. The lonely Queen, hurt by the king's adultery, had sought comfort with Nabo, resulting in a mixed-race baby. It was the ultimate royal scandal, the Sun King's wife cheating with a servant who was considered little more than a pet. No wonder this was called a forbidden secret. How plausible was this rumor? On one hand, Maria Theresa was deeply religious and reportedly adored her husband, making an affair seem unlikely. Contemporaries noted that she passionately loved the king, enduring his philandering without complaint. Committing adultery would have gravely violated her faith and her character. Indeed, many historians today doubt she would ever risk it. Additionally, remember the public nature of the birth. Dozens saw the baby, and no mention of an obvious African appearance is found in the official accounts, aside from the dark purple complexion, which was attributed to illness. If the baby had clearly African features, could they really hush that up with so many witnesses? Skeptics of the affair theory point out that the infant was born a month early and in poor health, so sadly, its chances of survival were slim in any case. From this view, the story might simply be a tragic infant death later distorted by gossip. Yet, on the other hand, some evidence from the time gives even more fuel to the scandal. There were claims that right after the 1664 incident, King Louis XIV banished Nabo from court and possibly even imprisoned him. One later writer alleged that Nabo was sent away by the king and, in a wild twist, became the man behind the legend of the man in the iron mask. While that part might be fanciful, it's true that Nabo disappears from the palace records after the mid-1660s. We don't know exactly what Louis did, but if Nabo was abruptly removed from Versailles, it suggests the king wanted this embarrassing matter swept under the rug fast. The queen's dwarf, once treated like a favorite pet, vanishes from history, just as rumors of an affair and secret child erupt. Coincidence? The courtiers didn't think so. Fast forward a few years after 1664, a curious figure surfaces in France, a black nun living in the convent of Moret-sur-Loing, not far from Paris. This woman, named Louise Marie-Thérèse, was of African appearance and had caught the attention of high society. Why? Because she claimed to be of royal blood. In fact, when this mysterious nun took her vows, she chose the name Louise Marie-Thérèse, combining the names of Louis for Louis XIV and Marie-Thérèse for Queen Maria Theresa. It was a bold hint at exactly who she believed her parents were. Louise Marie-Thérèse, better known as the Black Nun of Moret, spent most of her life cloistered away from the public eye. Described as intelligent and deeply melancholy, she seemed to carry a burden of untold origin. What made her truly fascinating, however, was the rumor that she was the very baby born to Queen Maria Theresa in 1664, miraculously kept alive and hidden. According to this tale, the infant princess did not die at all. Instead, the dark-skinned baby girl was smuggled to a convent and raised in secret. Decades later, here she was, a living secret with a cloistered life, perhaps unaware of her own origins until adulthood. Louise Marie-Thérèse herself seemed convinced of her royal parentage. There's a famous anecdote. King Louis XIV's second wife, Madame de Maintenon, whom he married after Maria Theresa's death, visited the convent to deny the nun's alleged royal status. Imagine the scene. The king's new wife confronting a humble nun about her bloodline. Louise Marie-Thérèse's reply was both witty and daring. She told Madame de Maintenon, "Madame, the fact that a lady of your rank has taken the trouble to come here to tell me I am not the king's daughter convinces me that I am." Talk about confidence. The very presence of such a high-ranking visitor apparently confirmed to the nun that her origins were important enough to worry the royal family. It wasn't just words that linked this nun to Louis XIV's family. There were actions too. King Louis XIV himself provided Louise Marie-Thérèse with a generous allowance starting in 1685. An annual pension of 300 livres, equivalent to roughly $60,000 today, to be paid to her for life. This extraordinary favor raises a huge question. Why would the king lavish money on an obscure black nun unless she meant something to him? Some suggest it was charity to ease his conscience or hush her up, while others think it's proof she was either his daughter or at least someone he felt responsible for. Furthermore, gossip columnist of the era Duke Louis de Saint-Simon recorded that members of the royal family made secret visits to the convent at Moret. He notes that Queen Maria-Therèse, when she was alive, and later Madame de Maintenon, went to see a certain Moorish woman at Moret. Though they didn't always meet her, they always inquired about her well-being. The mysterious woman in the convent was treated with more consideration than the most distinguished people, Saint-Simon writes, and surrounded by secrecy. This hush-hush treatment suggests the royals were carefully looking after someone hidden away, someone they cared for deeply. One day, Saint-Simon reports, the nun herself slipped up. Hearing the king's son, the Dauphin, hunting in the nearby forest, she exclaimed, "My brother is hunting!" That shocked everyone around. Did she just call the prince her brother? It added to the conviction that Louise Marie-Thérèse believed she was the daughter of King Louis and Queen Maria-Theresa. In fact, multiple contemporaries, from Saint-Simon to Voltaire, mention the story of a black daughter of the queen hidden away. Voltaire, writing in 1751, suggested that Louise Marie-Thérèse was likely one of Louis XIV's many illegitimate children. Even if he doubted the queen's affair, Voltaire thought the king himself might have fathered a black child with an African servant at court. This just shows how murky the truth was. Different people had different theories on who this nun's parents really were. So, we have a queen's baby said to have died, but possibly hidden, an African dwarf who might have been the father or scapegoat, and a black nun in a convent receiving royal favor and claiming to be the king's daughter. It's like a historical thriller. But what is fact, and what is simply court gossip that got out of hand? To get closer to the truth, let's examine the evidence and the theories that historians have pieced together from these tantalizing clues. Piecing together a 350-year-old royal mystery isn't easy. Over time, several theories have emerged about the true identity of Louise Marie-Thérèse, the so-called Black Nun of Moret. Let's break down the main possibilities that historians and contemporaries have argued, along with the clues supporting or debunking each. 1. The Queen's illicit daughter, affair with Nabo. This is the juiciest theory, that Maria-Therèse had a secret affair with her dwarf servant Nabo, resulting in a mixed-race daughter. The evidence? The 1664 baby's reported dark skin, the immediate removal of the infant when she resembled the Moor, and Nabo's sudden disappearance from court soon after, likely by furious royal order. The nun's chosen name, Louise Marie-Thérèse, also directly points to both Louis and Maria-Theresa as her parents. If true, this was an earth-shattering secret. It explains the extreme secrecy, the convent, and even why the Queen's honor had to be officially protected by declaring the baby dead. 2. The King's illegitimate daughter, Louis, and an African servant. Another theory flips the blame to Louis XIV himself. Perhaps Louis, known for many mistresses, had a secret liaison with a black servant woman in the palace, resulting in a child. In this scenario, the baby could have been born around the same time and quietly substituted or passed off as the Queen's premature child to avoid scandal, or simply hidden. Notably, Voltaire favored this idea, believing the Sun King had a black mistress who bore him a daughter. There were indeed a few African attendants in court, given France's trade with Africa at the time. The switched baby, or goddaughter theory. A less scandalous possibility is that Louise Marie-Thérèse was neither Louis's nor Maria-Theresa's biological child, but she had a special connection that led to the royal favor. One account by the Duc de Luynes claims she was the daughter of 2 black servants, or gardeners, at court, who could not afford to raise her, and they appealed to Madame de Maintenon for help. In this telling, the king and queen kindly became the baby's godparents and placed her in the convent, supporting her upbringing. Similarly, another version says a Moorish page, and his wife had a baby around the same time as the queen. When that couple died, Louis and Maria-Theresa took the orphan under their wing as godparents and sent her to Moret, treating her like a secret ward. 4. A fabricated tale, no royal blood at all. Finally, there's the skeptical view that Louise Marie-Thérèse crafted a sensational story about being a secret princess to gain attention, and the court gossips happily spread it. Remember, a black nun in 17th century France was extremely rare. People would naturally be curious about her background. It may be that imaginative courtiers wove a legend around her origins that even she came to believe. Writers like Saint-Simon loved a juicy story and might have embellished it in their memoirs. Perhaps the Queen's baby in 1664 truly died of natural causes, and Louise was just a random person whose fate got entangled with court myth-making. Looking at all these theories, it's clear no single explanation has been universally accepted. The story sits at the murky intersection of truth and legend. What we do know is that multiple contemporaneous sources, Montpensier, Montespan, Saint-Simon, Voltaire, etc., mention the existence of a black woman connected to the royal family in that era. There was enough smoke for people of the time to suspect a fire. Saint-Simon's detailed memoir even directly states, it was pretended that she, the nun, was a daughter of the king and queen, but had been hidden away on account of her color, and the report was spread that the queen had had a miscarriage. Many people believed this story, but whether it was true or not has remained an enigma. That was written by a man who moved in the highest circles of Versailles, essentially admitting we all heard the rumor. A lot of us believed it, but we never got proof. And that perhaps is as close to the truth as we'll get. The tale of Queen Maria-Theresa's forbidden secret leaves us with chilling questions and a deeper appreciation of how complex historical truth can be. On the one hand, it's a story about loneliness and scandal, a neglected queen, a forbidden friendship, and a child caught between royal duty and personal identity. On the other hand, it's a cautionary tale about how rumors in a glamorous court can create legends that endure for centuries. We may never know for certain if the Black Nun of Moret was truly the illicit daughter of the Queen of France, or if she was the king's child, or simply a convenient myth. But the very existence of this story shows that even in an age of absolute monarchs, secrets had a way of seeping through the gilded cracks of Versailles. What can we take away from this? First, that history is full of surprises. Behind the portraits of serene queens and triumphant kings are human dramas as riveting as any soap opera. Second, it reminds us that powerful people will go to great lengths to protect their reputation. Whether Maria-Theresa's secret was real or imagined, the French court's careful concealment, or perhaps later historical cover-up, demonstrates how image was everything for royalty. Finally, it's a lesson in critical thinking. Stories are passed down to us with mixes of fact and fiction, and it's our job to tease them apart. The next time you hear a sensational historical rumor, remember Louise Marie-Thérèse and ask, what evidence lies beneath the whispers? Thank you for watching and delving into this royal mystery with us. If this story blew your mind or opened your eyes to a hidden side of history, hit that like button. Leave a comment. Do you think the Queen really had a secret child, or was it all just gossip? We'd love to hear your theories. Don't forget to subscribe for more captivating history tales. We have plenty of unbelievable true stories coming up. And if you're hungry for more intrigue, be sure to watch our next video. Until next time, remember, history may be in the past, but its secrets are very much alive. Subscribe and stay curious.